Well, number one, before I get started, I've got about an hour and a half. No, I don't. Before I get started, I just want to say welcome. I'm glad you're here. This is what it needs to be about. Rooms like this filled with people that care about the Batesville School District, that have questions. And I'm going to answer your questions. Let me set some caveats for you. I can't talk about personnel against the law. So I can't discuss anything that you want to talk about in terms of personnel. So I want that clear. If you ask me a question, that's going to be my response. I can't talk about that. It's not to hide anything from you. They're just protected rights, and I can't talk about things like that. So let's get that out front. Everybody understands that particularly well. I've got a series of things I want to talk to you about tonight and kind of give you an update of where we are as a school district. You've probably heard, I talked to the city-county meeting. We had a great crowd there as well, but I'm just very pleased to see all of you here. That tells me you're interested in the Batesville School District, and that's what we need. We need all of your interest. I know you have some questions. I know you have concerns. I have been on the job about 35 days. It feels like about 9 months. But we've been working hard. I want you to know that. There've been long days, long evenings, long weekends. I'm meeting with a lot of different people, parents, whoever wants to meet, I've been able to meet with. Not everybody, but pretty much my day, as Miss Green will tell you, is pretty packed from the time I get there till the time I leave. And then sometimes I go home and work because that's a part of this job. We have a lot to do. I want to say that to you emphatically. We have a lot to do. I'm going to outline some of that for you. I'm going to talk about some of the projects and where we are, give you an update on some of that kind of good stuff because I know you want to know. And then we're going to take some Q&A. So I want to answer whatever questions that you have that I can. Okay? Why am I here? Why did I decide to do this? We moved back to Batesville. It'll be 3 years in September. We came back to Batesville because I was born here a long time ago. I went to the first 3 grades and then we moved. My dad was an educator. We moved to the West Coast. I'm not going to go into all that with you, but in 1993, I had the chance to come back home as your superintendent. I was here from 93 to 99. Then I went to Van Buren as superintendent, Little Rock, Lexington, Kentucky, then back as commissioner of education for 5 years. Since then, I've been consulting and doing some things like that, but we were always going to come back to Batesville, Arkansas, because this is home for me. My wife was born in California, but she thinks that this is home now too. I'm here because I care about the Batesville School District. I care about this community. I care about our kids. I didn't come back to Batesville to be the superintendent. That's not why we moved back. As I watched different things, I had concerns. And as it got to a point when the board decided what they wanted to do, then we had a little conversation, and here I am. I'm happy to be here. There are days, I will tell you emphatically, that I had to question my own intelligence or lack thereof. I knew I would find some things because I've been in this business long enough that I know the questions to ask and I know where to look. It's the best way to describe it to you. The bottom line, this is a good school district, and I'm going to go over some of the good accolades here toward the end before I open up for Q&A. We have some concerns, but folks, we have a lot of good things going on in the Batesville School District. We have a lot of good people. We have a school board that cares. They care about each and every kid. They care about you. You may have questions for them at some point in time, but this is not a board meeting, so we're not going to do that Q&A piece, okay? This is my time with you, and I want to share with you where we are and where we're going to go. I have one objective, to get Batesville back to where it needs to be. And you can say that's my goal, that's my, whatever term you want to use, that's it. And that's what we're going to work hard on trying to do. I take a lot of pride in this community. I take a lot of pride in the schools. 93 to 99, we worked real hard here. We got a lot of good stuff done. We put some standards in place. Batesville was known across the state as a high academic institution and high grades. We've had some digression, but it does not mean that we cannot get back to where we were. And some of the accolades I'm going to share with you tonight will just pinpoint for you where we are academically. And there's some good things going on here, a lot of good things going on. So I want to set the stage with that and kind of tell you that's why I'm here. And that's it. There's no other reason. I'm here because I care. I was doing well at home. I really was. But I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to carry the torch, and I'm happy to work with each and every one of you as we continue to move forward, because we got to do this together. I can't do it by myself. Each and every one of you, and collectively across this community, we have to work hard to get to where we need to be.
It's similar to what you had.
There's only one way to do that. It's hard work. You got to roll up the sleeves and do the work. No more excuses. No more spin cycle. Whatever term you want to use. What you're going to get from us is the facts, the
How big do we
reality,
need to go? What size are
honesty,
you?
credibility. Because that's what we have to reestablish across this community.
Damn, boy.
For whatever reason, we've lost some of that. And I'm not one that wants to beat things to death and talk about them for 2 or 3
That's a
days.
7. That's too big for you.
It's over.
That's a men's 7.
And we've got to move on from
No.
here. And we've got the nucleus to be able to get done what we need to get done. So that's what we're going to be about.
Yeah, that's you,
I
back.
want to start out and tell you that the second day on the job, I found out that we were, at that point, 60 kids down in enrollment. What that means in the school district is that you're going to lose revenue for each one of those kids that you lose. We are funded on what is called third quarter average daily membership. That comes out in April. When they do the average, we're not down 60, but we're down 55. What does that mean for each and every one of us across this room? What does it mean for me as a superintendent and everybody that works in the school district? It's quite simple. We will begin next year about $427,000 less in revenue than we had this year. That is not a cycle that you want to be in when you're in education. You do not want to be losing kids. So number one, we've got to turn that tide. We've got to stop the bleed, whatever phrase you want to use. School districts do not stay in operation if they're losing kids year after year. You say, what do you have to do to make up that money? What do you have to do to make up that money is exactly what we're doing right now. We're looking at every position where there's a retirement and or a resignation. And the question is, do we need to fill that position? If we don't, we're not filling it. Today, going into next year, I've cut 14 positions already across the district. I want to say to you that 5 of those positions are at the district office, because the district office has to lead that charge. We want to keep the cuts as far away from the classroom as we possibly can. Now, there'll be some of those resignations and everything that we have to fill, because you got to meet standards. You're going to stay open. If you don't meet standards, you're out of compliance. You get in trouble for that. I've been on that side of the conversation as well. So we're down 55 kids. We got to change that. We got to stop that. So what are these 14 positions? What's that going to equate to? Well, at the end of the day, right now, those 14 positions add up to a little bit over $800,000 in reductions. So that's where we got to begin. And if you don't begin in that scenario and do the kind of things that we're doing right now, when you're losing kids, you get further behind the 8 ball, so to speak. I want to say to you candidly that if we lose another 50 or 60 kids next year, it's going to be a much more serious conversation. We will have to reduce a lot more staff. We don't need to be there. We're going to try our hardest to make sure we're not there. But if we are, I just want to say here to you today, you're hearing from me today what's going to happen next year. We don't want to go down that path. That's not any path the school district wants to go down. You cannot lose revenue unless you cut the corresponding pieces that you need to cut to make sure you make up the money. We're going to move to a legislative audit next year, hopefully. We've put in that request. And what that means is that request goes before the legislature and the Joint Auditing Committee on June of this year. They will vote to come back in and hopefully begin that process. That legislative audit process would begin next fall. Why are we doing that? Because I think we need that outside validation. We've been under a private audit for the last 3 or so years, and private audits can be fine. I think we need an outside look. I think we need to get legislative audit back in here to take a look and to give us that outside validation. So that's why we're doing that. You'll hear everybody in the, any auditors in here? You'll hear everybody say that, well, legislative audit, they come in, they spend 6 to 8 weeks with you. They do. They camp out. And you're ready to see them go. But they do their job, and they do it. Could they do it quicker? I think they could, but you're not in control of that. I remember my first summer, let me tell you that little side note. Came back from California. Our audits out there weren't 6 to 8 weeks long. They were a couple of weeks. Rodney from Concord was our auditor at that point in time. He came in, he said, I asked him, well, I'm going to be here a couple of weeks. He said, I will be here 6 to 8 weeks. I said, what are you going to rent a room, or what are you doing? He goes, no, we're going to check everything out. I said, you guys 6 to 8 weeks to do that. He said, yeah, but we're pretty methodical. And they are. I've been through a lot of those. But I've used both legislative and private audit in the different districts I've been in. The reason we're doing this, folks, is we need an outside validation. That's why we're doing it. So I want you to know that. We're going to turn over everything that we need to turn over. We're going to be open about it. We're going to tell you about it. That's the way it's going to be. Okay? School grades. We have a couple of situations we're in that we should not be in. Whether you like school grades or not, when the grades come out, that's what you look at. That's what people judge school systems by. So we got a couple of situations that we've got to fix pretty quickly. Now the whole testing regime is changing again, so we'll see what that test looks like, and then we'll see how soon it gets the results back to us. But we've got to change that. The grades are not acceptable. Batesville School District should not have those grades, in my opinion. I know the staffs are working very hard. This is not a criticism of them at this point in time. A lot of things have been going on. Sometimes that transcends into classroom work. But the bottom line is we got to change those grades because that's not acceptable. Batesville, this school district community should never be accepting of those grades. And I say that to you emphatically because I believe it. There's too many good things going on here for that to happen. Okay, I want to get into the construction project a little bit. You guys have seen our construction project, right? You got to drive by there every day?
Yes.
Come on, you can laugh. It's okay. Trust me, I have to laugh quite often. I am very serious about what I'm doing, but I like to have fun doing it. So when you hear me, I don't mind cracking jokes. I don't mind you laughing. It doesn't bother me at all. I don't mind any questions you want to ask me. Construction facts. Let me kind of paint the picture for you if you don't know how this whole thing happened. So it's going to kind of give you a historical rendition of why we are where we are and how we got there. The project, when it was first being looked at, the projection was $25 million. I wish it was $25 million now, but it's not. And it wasn't that kind of scenario in any school district in the state of Arkansas. Batesville's not unique in this picture. We all got caught up in all of the things that were going on with construction, the COVID, everything like that. Bottom line is the bids came back in, and the first bid that came in had gone up from $25 to $40 million. Then it went up to $49 million after that, and that was in 23. The price now on the project, because there's been some cuts to it, is $47.7 million. Okay, they're starting to do some steel work. Probably seen the steel laying up there if you haven't. But anyway, they're starting that process. Completion is by December of 2025 is what the target date is. Okay, the project is a little over $400,000 right now over budget. They're going to continue to look, see what they can cut. Let me tell you in the context of that same conversation. We've got all this facility going in, but we don't have any new parking coming in. Okay? Which is not real good. But the bottom line is the parking had to be cut out. That parking was cut out before I got here. No criticism to anybody, it was just cut because some things had to be cut. I had them bring me some new bids on what parking spaces, new additional parking spaces would cost. What do you think 214 more parking spaces would cost us? Anybody want to guess? Over $1 million for 214 parking spaces. That's the highest bid. I mean, I had them bring it back in phases. You know, give me a low, give me a medium, give me the most we can have. 214 is the most we could put in there, and that's over $1 million. Last time I checked, we don't have that million coming in anywhere. So these are things that we're going to have to continue to look at and face as we go down this path. But I want you to know that. I want you to know all these things going in as we look at this. Project's now underway, and I told you the completion is December 2025. Let me tell you that the building, as it will be completed, will have some shelled spaces. You know what that means? That means all the rooms are not going to be completely finished. That's what it means. We're going to have at least one. There was 2 band rooms in there. There's a couple of choral rooms. There's a variety of different things that are very nice, but they all cost a lot of money. So we won't have as many. We'll have 1 band room, nice sized band room. We'll have 1 choral room. We'll have classrooms, all those kind of things. But some of these cuts have been made, and I want you to know what some of them are. And I want you to know that after we spend $47.7 million, some of it's going to be shelved. What that means is you got to make a decision later on down the road if you're going to come back and you're going to fix those or build them out. And you know the answer before I say it. When you go back a year or 2 later and say we're going to do this, you know the answer, don't you? It's going to cost more money than it does right now. The bottom line is we don't have the money. We've got all the money from the state we're going to get. We were not eligible for $5 million plus from the state because we did not pass a millage. The community did not pass a millage. I'm not telling you we're coming to you for a millage, because we're not. Before we come and ask for a millage, we've got to have trust, reliability, credibility. You fill in the blank. And if it's not there, we're not going to get it. But I want to say to you, we're going to work very hard to get that trust back in the community so that we can do these things as we move forward. So that's another piece that I wanted to share with you. I mentioned the parking spaces to you as well. So that's kind of an update on the project, but they're working hard. The weather hasn't been too bad of a delay on us at this point in time. We've been in pretty good shape. We'll probably have some kind of topping ceremony and things like that. We're looking at June. We don't have a firm date, but we'll let you know that piece as well. The federal building that we're in right now is district offices. Let me give you a little historical perspective on that. The preschool was somewhat out of space. The district needed to move the parents teachers program. And so that freed up some space at our pre-K program. The district was located at that point in Water Street. You all know that property over there. That's where the district office was. The repair estimates, that came into the board at that point in time were pretty excessive, according to the documents that I've seen. So the board started looking around, and the superintendent started looking around at different options for a building. And the agreement on that federal building was once that the district took over the building, minus the post office, because that was not in the conversation, was that we would have that entire building and then the district would take it over. We had not done that yet. The district would take it over, then we would be getting rent payments for those other renters that are in there. But the bottom line, what's translated into that at this point is we've got several federal agencies that are still on that second floor. And I doubt seriously that they're probably going to leave. We'll have some rental space up there if the board decides this is what they're going to continue to stay in. But I want to let you know kind of where we were on the federal building and how we got there, and some of those things are beyond that. The money that we're going to get with rent was going to come back into the district and be donated to 501(c), which is our foundation. If you don't know, the district has a school district foundation. Right now, there's about $5,000 in there, so we can't go out and buy a lot of stuff. So that's kind of where things are with respect to the federal building. We're still having conversations about that. We don't, again, have all the space in there that we thought we were probably going to have as we entered into this conversation or as the district entered into it. So that's kind of an update on that particular piece. Let me get into some of the accolades I want to share with you in terms of what I've recently experienced in the district. And I want to tell you, I've seen several of you at some of our awards ceremonies and productions and things of that nature, and they've been phenomenal. The kids here perform very well. And I can tell you that we were very proud to be there and observe the kids and do what they're doing. At the recent awards ceremony for the high school, the senior scholarships came in at over $3.6 million. That's going to continue to go up as people will continue to get more scholarships. Out of that class, we have one national merit finalist, which is very hard to do. Those of you that know that history. We also have the first ever Gates Scholarship recipient in this class. Those are extremely hard scholarships to get. We have 7 Distinguished Governors Scholarships. We have 17 of our high school students that scored over 30 on the ACT examination. Any of you know what the highest score on the ACT is? 36. We had one of those scores came in at 35, but 17 kids scored over 30. That's good. That is good. That tells you some good things. It tells you got some smart kids, but it tells you good things are going on too. Those are the kinds of things that we need to continue to celebrate, that level of excellence. Raise our kids' expectations across the district. We have 71% of our high school students that scored a 3 or above on their advanced placement examinations. Any of you know anything about advanced placement examinations? They are tough. If you score a 3, 4, or 5 on an AP examination, you know your stuff. Everybody knows that. That's why they give you college credit for it. So we need to have more of our kids engaged in that. We've got a good section of them going in there right now. But that's 71% of the kids scoring 3 or above on an AP exam, that is very strong academic success. So this board is in place. They're a strong board. They are committed to the school district. I've enjoyed working with them thus far, and I have no doubt that I will continue to enjoy working with them. They have the best interests of your children in their hearts. We've got some things we got to get through together collectively as a community, and that includes the school. That includes everybody. We've all got to work together to make these kind of things happen. So that's what I wanted to cover with you in terms of significant things across the district and give you a free brief updates. I will tell you on the federal building, we've got a 10-year lease on that building that we're working under. And that's something that we continue to look at, but that's a situation where we've had attorneys look at it to see what obligations are there, what kind of options we have there. The lease is pretty tight. So we're going to continue to have conversations about that building, and the board will have to decide what it is they're going to do. And so that's kind of the best picture I can give you on that particular building, but I will tell you the board has shared with me that when they looked across the community at facilities, that was the best facility that they saw. So that's what I want to communicate to you here this evening as well. So let's open it up, because I know you got some questions, and I don't want to take all the time just talking to you. I want to hear some questions. I will answer any question that I can, but again, I cannot answer anything for you that has to do with personnel. I forgot to ask at the front, it's so we can identify and so we have an opportunity to talk. Do we have any media that's here covering? We do? Right there? Okay. I thought I saw you. I said, anybody else? Oh, we have 4 or 5 TV stations here. Just kidding. Anyway, long story short, let's open it up. Who wants to pose a question? About anything I talked about? Go ahead.
Could you repeat what happened with the former superintendent's offices? Did the preschool have to go in there?
No. What ended up happening, they wanted to free up some space in the preschool building. That's why we went down to the district office. And that's what I've been told. No, none of the nobody's located over at the Water Street property right now, with the exception of our alternative ed program. We have technology over there, but there's no offices over there. We got a lot of things stored over there. And, I mean, there's no doubt that's an old property. I mean, you guys know that facility, and it's gonna take money to fix that. But the question is, the question that everybody has to think about, anytime you're gonna spend money, the question is, do we have to do it now, or can we put it off? I mean, what has to be done right now? That's what you have to ask. If it's safe, comfortable, and dry, then you can still occupy facilities. But that building has needs. But I was telling you also that the federal building has needs. And if we get to the point where we take over the federal building, then we're going to absorb those needs. And we're paying rent on that property right now. Okay? And we've had to put some district funds into the renovation that went into it before I got here. So we've already spent some money on that facility. And it has needs, like any old building. So those are the options that are kind of on the table right now for folks to consider. That help you?
Yes, thank you.
What else? Yes,
When you look at the, moving the 6th grade up to a junior high and
I
9th
didn't
grade.
do it.
I know. But I'm wondering if that had any impact on our grades for the junior high. Because I know 6th, 7th, and 8th this year, they were in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade during COVID. And I know that across everywhere during, after COVID, there was a decrease in scores.
I can't tell you emphatically based on any data that I have anything to substantiate an answer on that. I mean, that just hasn't risen to the level of what I'm looking into yet. Best way to put it to you, but it's a good question.
Well, I'm just hoping that maybe just naturally.
We're peeling back that onion, but that onion is a pretty good size onion. What else? Yes, ma'am.
How far back will that legislative audit go? Will it go further than a year?
They only go back a year. I'm going to try to talk to them about going back a little bit more, but they will, in other words, when they come in next fall, they'll be looking at this year. Okay? I'm going to talk to them I'm going to try to get them to look at some different things, but I can't tell you that they're automatically going to do that because they don't have to. But it'll give us a good picture of where we are. Okay? I have no doubt about that. What else? You guys didn't come down here just to listen to me talk. Yes, sir.
I know you've only been on the job 35 days.
It's been 94. Go ahead.
Do you have any inkling of what it would take dollar-wise to right the ship?
How many checkbooks we have in here? No.
Can you repeat the question, Dr.
Yeah.
Jones?
The question was, do I have any idea what it would cost to right the district in terms of bringing the district up to where it needs to be financially? Well, it didn't help that we lost 55 kids because that's 500 down, almost 500 down the tube. But that's the reality of it. That's what's going to happen. So that's why we had to make some cuts and reductions. We are still short on this building. Okay, we're probably a couple $1 million, I would imagine, short on that building. And, that's going to continue to evolve. You guys have built houses, or some of you have, when you start with the budget, what it looks like, what it looks like at the end. Sometimes it goes up, doesn't it? Like 99% of the time. So I suspect that we'll have some additional things to deal with in that regard, but we are short. I wish we would have had the millage, but we didn't, because that would have given us $5 million more. Now, our district south of the river, past the millage, they got $5 million more. That's just the way the system and the funding goes. If you pass a millage, they give you those incentives. But we've got to get more credibility in place than we've got right now, because the worst thing that we could do, in my opinion, would be to come to the community and ask for a millage increase and have it blow up in our face. We don't need to do that. We don't need to go down that path. Because that serves no purpose other than getting us further behind from where we were. So we're not gonna do that. And that's why we're not gonna do it. It's not because we don't need the resources. You know some of you know what the needs are. Look at West Elementary. Enormous needs. And we're just having to put it off because we can't do it. Doesn't mean that we don't have the need. It's an old building, a very old building. The people over there do a fantastic job. But that's a facility that we've got to look at some point in time, in my opinion. Other questions?
Ian, how can we attract more students to Batesville if we've lost 55? I know they all didn't go to another district, but what can we do to attract more?
Good question. A number of things, in my opinion. First of all, we've got to stop killing ourselves. And let me tell you what I mean by that. We got to stop beating ourselves up. We got to stop. Every district has problems. I've been in all of them in this state. I've had to close several of them. And that wasn't fun. But it was because of mismanagement for the most part, from a fiscal standpoint. Some of them fell under that magic number that you remember, 350. But some of them because of fiscal mismanagement.
David,
We've got to do our best to make sure that we are taking care of every problem in Batesville that we can, and we've got to talk about the good things that are going on. We have to have a positive approach to everything that we're doing. I'm not saying smoke and mirrors. We've had enough spin cycle. I'm not a spinner. I want to give you the things that I gave you that are facts. That's what I want to brag about. I don't want to tell you how good it's going to be if it's not good. You can do that for a little while, but that runs out of gas pretty quick. The other thing we've got to do is we have got to make sure we're providing the best educational opportunities we can for every kid that we serve. And trust me, I believe that to my core. We are here and you go into the education business because you want to serve kids. If you don't want to do that, then you're in the wrong business. And I've said that to every staff member I've ever talked to and every school district I've ever been a superintendent or principal. If you're not in this business for the kids, that's not a criticism of you. It just means if you don't want to be here, you don't need to be here. Because that translates into everything that you do in the classroom. If you're unhappy, kids are sharp. They pick up on everything. They can tell if you're happy being there. They can tell if you want to be there. So we've got to do that, Dale. We've got to make sure we've got a strong curriculum. We've got to make sure that we are teaching in the classroom. We're looking at the Chromebooks. We're looking at the whole 9 yards, trust me. Technology is a tool of instruction. It's not the instruction. The teacher is the instruction. And if you're in a classroom, whether it's in Batesville, Arkansas, Little Rock, Lexington, wherever, if you're giving assignments on a Chromebook when the kids walk in and they walk out and that's all they've done, nothing's happening, is it? What's happened to the teacher-student interaction is gone. I'm not saying that's happening in every classroom, but I would predict to you that it probably is happening in different places because it's the nature of the beast. That Chromebook cannot be the teacher. So we're looking at Chromebooks, we're looking at how we utilize them, we're looking at not sending them home all summer long. If you don't know, we provide hotspots or have provided hotspots. That costs us several $1,000s a year. The idea is not a bad one, but the idea that what ends up happening is that those get lost, the Chromebooks get lost, so we lose them at both ends. And the Chromebooks sometimes come back in the summertime or even during the year with things on them that they shouldn't have on them. You can't have that going on. That's not education. It's a tool of instruction. It's not the teacher. And your kids need that expertise that the teacher brings to the classroom if they're going to succeed. Now, they may go to college and they may have everything online, and I'm not saying they won't, depends on where they go to school. We're not college yet. We got to have teacher instruction going on. That's what people are getting paid to do, to teach. You can't do it like this. If you're doing it like this, you're missing the boat. And we're not having the kind of instruction that we need to have. We're still going to have some Chromebooks, but we're not going to spend $18,000 a year on fixing them. And we're not going to buy the numbers that we've been buying before because we just can't afford to do that anymore. We spend an enormous amount of money on technology in this district. Technology is expensive. Each and every one of us who like to own the licenses of Chromebooks has got to sell it. It's a good business model, but it's not the end all be all to instruction. So that has to change in terms of what we're doing. Everything has to be about how best we can provide educational opportunities for the kids that we're here to serve. And if that drives the train, then we'll get done what we need to get done. You'll be surprised how quickly this all can turn around if we get everybody same ship, whatever phrase you want to use, and pulling in the right direction. It happens quickly. If you got diversions, you've got people pulling against each other, working in opposition, then it doesn't happen. So that's what we got to be able to do as we continue to move forward. Other questions? Yes.
So academics are first and foremost the most important thing for the district, and children in our community want them to excel. So we talk about a loss in the district and where we're losing things, are we also evaluating the extracurricular things that we provide for our students? As much as we want to turn our head, we have to focus that also extracurriculars are what we provide in the district in comparison to the competitor. Are we doing all that we can to promote sports, to have that foundation starting at junior high? Is that where we're losing students as well?
I can't tell you right now emphatically that we're losing kids because of our sports program or the lack thereof. Batesville has always enjoyed pretty good success in athletics across the years. I'm an athletic supporter. I played baseball in college. I grew up playing sports, but it's like technology. It's not the end all be all that we're about, but it has an integral part of everything that we do. And it sets the tone in a lot of respects for attitude, behavior. So to answer your question, yeah, we're looking at different things right now that we're doing. We've not become heavily engaged in that because there's just been other issues that I've had to confront. But it's something we're looking at and exploring. And I probably, from your question, have a gist about you're talking about athletic periods and things of that nature at the end of the day.
Just how are we in comparison to, I'll say it, across the bridge? Are we losing students? Is there a reason why, is there something that they're offering there that is making a draw? Is there something that we're missing out on? Because even though we want to look at it, it's still a number and financially that's affecting our district. And we don't want to lose them. It's not saying we don't have great coaches, but what can we do in that aspect? What can we do to draw, retain what we have?
Well, the biggest draw that you can have on anything is have quality, okay? We got to make sure we have quality. I think we've had a good athletic program here. I can't tell you that south of the river is offering any other sports than we are right now. I think we're offering quite a few sports. Our numbers are pretty high across the board in a lot of regards. We need to get them up in some sports, but we need to look at total operations because you have to look at it. You can't look at it in isolation, okay? I'm a strong supporter of the athletic program. It sets a positive tone that gives kids an integral way of being engaged in the classroom and the school system. But again, it can't drive the train. But we also got to make sure that as we look at this across the board, we got to understand that just because we have all these different sports, everybody can't have athletic PE. It just doesn't fit. You can't move all your coaches to one period. You got too many sports. Can you do some of those? Possibly. We're going to explore some of those kinds of things, and that's what we're doing with them right now, okay? So Other questions? Yes,
What can we do from a community standpoint to help things?
you can get on the bus. That's terrible. I said, the must, no. We all gotta get on the bus, folks. And we gotta get people in the right seat in the bus, okay? We gotta be pulling this thing together, but we've got to help each other. We gotta talk about the positives going on in the Batesville School District and not beat it up. Every school district, I've said it, has problems. Not every one of them washes the laundry in public. We've got some of that, or have had some of that going on. We got to stop that. That doesn't help us. What it does is it drives people away sometimes. What we got to do is be willing to talk about the problems that we have. If we talk about the problems, we have a chance of fixing them. If we don't talk about them, people get frustrated and they just up and leave. And I think that's probably what has happened over the last few years, maybe. We've lost that connectivity that we once had. This is a close-knit community. When I was superintendent here from 93 to 99, if I wanted to know something, I went to the grocery store or the ballpark. I could find out everything that was going on in an hour and a half. And you may laugh, but that's the truth. That's where a lot of conversations happen. And some of them are factual, some of them are not. But you begin to identify potential areas of problems and things that you need to work on. We've got to work together to make it all happen. And if we do that, then things can change pretty quickly. Again, if we're working in opposition, then they're not going to change very quickly. And then that's going to lead to more problems. I'm not about problems. I'm about solving issues and problems. You solve them by dealing with them up front, effectively and honestly, and communicating with people and not feeding them a bunch of BS. We're not going to do that. I don't do that. I have never done that, and I'm not going to start now. Let's go back to the deck. Wherever the deck is. I'll build a deck. I'll fight a deck. What I'm saying to you is I'm not about that. I don't want to be about that situation. Let's figure out what we got to do and let's fix it.
Dr.
Let's
James,
not, go ahead.
if people are hearing misinformation or hear something concerning, what do they need to do to contact the right people and to ensure that they're going to the right people to get those answers?
Well, number one, go to the source. I mean, if you're hearing a rumor about this, that, or whatever, go to the source and talk to them. If you're hearing something about the district office or something we're doing or something that we're not doing, then you need to call me or email me. There's probably people in this room that have had emails from me. If not, then all you got to do is send me an email. Don't do it tonight. Bottom line is I will communicate with you. I'll be open with you and I'll be honest with you. All the time you may not like everything that I say, but I'm going to tell you what the facts are. I'm not going to feed you any hook, line, and sinker. Here's where we are. Here are the facts. Here's what's happening. That's what you're going to get. And that's what we're going to do. Every day that we come to work, that's what we're going to do. That's what we're stressing across the district because that's what makes us better. And it gets our credibility, reliability, and honesty back embedded within the community. That's what we got to have, folks, because we've lost some of that. Other questions? Yes, sir.
If you go back and look at the personnel reports over the past 6 months, going back to last fall, you'll see a number of teachers that have resigned. These teachers are veteran teachers and none of them are near retirement age. Have you looked at that?
I've looked at
They're leaving in droves, and even with the LEARNS Act, they're being paid now more than they ever were before, but they're still leaving Batesville. Have you looked at that as a Batesville problem and say, hey, we need to do exit interviews, find out why they're leaving?
We need to find out more. I've not looked at all of that in totality, to be honest with you, but I've looked at some of it. And we have to ask why people are leaving, especially if they're doing it en masse. Because if that's the case, then there's some issue that has caused them to get to that point in their profession. We have to find out what that is. Are we doing something to cause that? And I don't have that answer for you today, But I will tell you that that's something that we're gonna continue to look at as we go down the path, because we gotta know why people are leaving. If they are unhappy, then we gotta know what makes them unhappy. Have we done something to cause that, or they're just burned out? You know, I mean, there's a combination of things that can happen. So we gotta look at it in totality and then make the decisions that we need to make to keep people around here. We want to keep the best, we don't wanna lose the best people. I know we've lost a lot of folks. Some of you in the room that have since retired, when I was back here before, we've lost a lot of good people. What you have to do though, when you have an opportunity to hire people, if you have to make the best decisions on hiring. You can't be about hiring just to fill a position and to do it automatically and it doesn't work that way. You need to take your time and interview people and talk to people. Because if you don't hire the best people that you can when you have the chance, you end up 9 times out of 10 spending more time getting rid of them or talking them out of the profession than you do if you spend it going in. We got to spend it on the front end of the cycle. We need the highest quality of teacher that's coming out to come into the school district. We need to keep the people that we've got in the school district that are doing it. It's all about people. It's all about the people that you have, and it's all about how you treat people. If people feel respected, if they feel honored, if they feel valued, they will perform. They will. I've seen it throughout my career. I've done this for a long time. You treat people well, you hold them accountable, pay them. You have high expectations. But the high expectation starts where? It starts with me, or whoever is in this seat. You got to have the high expectations going from the top all across the spectrum. Okay? And that's what gets you better. Yes, ma'am.
Lead off of that, have y'all looked into, which I know financially you're having to be conscious, but have you looked into your student to teacher ratio? Because
What was that last part?
your student to teacher ratio.
Yeah.
Because most of my teaching friends will, when we talk, they're like, last year I had 18 kids. This year I have 25 kids. Now, most of my teacher friends are younger, they're in elementary school, stuff like that. But like my daughter is a part of a 25 7-year-olds. I don't want 25 7-year-olds, that's why I'm not teaching, but. So, I mean, I don't know, that's just one thing that I think about. We're like, that's a lot of kids to hold in one area and be able to teach them efficiently. Does that make sense?
Did you guys hear the question about class sizes and 25 kids in a classroom at elementary level? I mean, I've looked at some of the class sizes. We have some that are in that range, 25, 27. We've got to look at that, but by the same token, we've got to be able to afford what it is we're talking about doing. Because anytime you lower that ratio, you increase the cost. So it's not just being able to say, we need lower class sizes, we're going to go do it next week. You got to have the resources to do it. But, I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. If you've got less kids in the classroom, the research will tell you you're probably going to have more of an effect. But it becomes a cost factor as you look at your budget and as what you can do. But when you look at the budget, you got to look across the board and see where can we save some money that might be able to allow us to have a few extra teachers to cut down on some of that. I mean, that has to be part of your conversation as well. I mean, you look at the whole picture when you look at it. That's what we're going to do with the budget. Because we've spent a lot of money in a variety of areas that we've got to take a hard look at. Because we got to be more cost efficient and cost effective. Okay?
What is the yearly payroll of everybody in our district? I mean, millions, probably.
13, about $13 million range, $10 to $13 million range. But what is the payroll is the question. It's in a $13 million range. Okay? Now, of course, that bumped up quite a bit when Learns Act came in and stuff. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But you got to have quality going on in the classroom. And I'm not standing up here criticizing teaching. I'm just saying that has to be the objective. That's what we're all about. We're going to pay you X, but we expect X plus X.
I know your predecessor wanted to do away with field trips until we got our school grades back up. Do you plan to do that?
We're not gonna do away with field trips. I will tell you, we're gonna look at field trips, because tell you another thing, and I have to say this. We have a PPC committee, which is teachers, that comes together and meets with the superintendent once a month. Well, now it's quarterly. It used to be by law once a month. Now it's quarterly. I met with them for the second time Thursday. And I want to tell you, I'm so proud of them, because they wanted to talk about the school calendar. Not the fact that I told them they had to work 5 more days, because that was not correct. They wanted to talk about, we need more time in the classroom. Hallelujah. And for them to come with that conversation to the table, that was a great day for me. Because that's what it is we need to be about. You had one school calendar in the recent past where the teachers worked for 157 days. You can't deliver the instruction that we have to deliver in 157 days. And you couple all of that with how many of you, several of you have talked to me about across this community. Every time we turn around, our kids are out of school. We're having this day, we're having that day, we're having this day. Professional development is very important, but you gotta be in the classroom to be able to teach. There's a reason in the translation to some of these grades, I would say to you, based on the number of days that we've been in the classroom, and why we are where we are. So they are right now preparing some alternative calendars for us to look at, for the board to look at. That's going to put them back in front of the kids more days than what they've been. That's what we need to do. That was a eureka moment. I'll be candid with you. I was pumped. That was the most excitement I've had since I've been here. Not really, but it was a good day, because that's what you want teachers talking about. And it's not translating that that's gonna impact them and grow it. No, folks, this is what everybody else around the state's been doing. We've been on an alternative calendar. Been on an hourly calendar, which translates into what it has translated to here, less days in the classroom when you couple it with the collaborative days, all these other days that have been going on. So we're going to look at that. We're going to take a recommendation to the board. Once they develop these calendars and we make sure that they're blessed and that they meet the requirements of the state, that's going to be a good step for the Batesville School District. I'm excited about it, because that's what we need to be about. And the teachers are driving. That's what needs to happen. It doesn't need to come to the top. The teachers involved in these conversations, they're coming to the superintendent and saying, we need to be in the classroom more. You were there. That's fantastic. So that's a aha moment. So I'm proud of that. And I want to celebrate them. And I told them, I said, you guys are doing the right thing here. You're having the right conversations. That's what we need to be about. Because if you're going to teach the kids, you got to be in the classroom to teach them. If you're not there, then it doesn't happen as often. Other questions? Yes.
So as a parent who's got at least 12 more years involved in hopefully this district.
Oh, you're going to stay.
I'm actually.
We're not letting you go.
And I don't know if I can ask this, if it's a personnel question, but I like what I'm hearing. Thank you for being here. What is the long-term plan for you? Like, are we going to pour into you and then in August somebody new is hired? I don't know.
The board told me I had 10 more days. No. And I've got board members here, so I needed to say anything like that. So I'm just being calm, which I have to do to keep my sanity sometimes. But no, I am here until June of 2025. okay? Because I didn't come back to do 5 or 10 years, folks. I know I look like I'm 39. I'm much so I didn't come back here to start my career again, okay? I've been extremely blessed and fortunate. I am happy to be here because this is what needs to happen. We need to get back to where we were. And that's what we're going to try to do as best we can. Everybody's help and support. We can do this. We can do it. That's the attitude we all got to have. We got to leave this room and say, out of here, we can do it. We're all going to do it together. Because if we're not together, it's not going to happen. And I've seen all those things too. I'm not going to shoot you any lines. If we're not working together, we're not going to get to where we need to be. So all of us working collectively hard is going to make this happen. That's how good things happen. You know, in your own business, your own work, if you work hard and you put in the time and effort, then things get better. That's what we got to do here. I don't mind putting in the time. I just can't do it for a long period of time. Okay, I'm running out of time. Other questions?
Do you anticipate there being a superintendent search?
That will be up to the board, but yeah, I mean, I don't know what process they'll use, but they will decide that. I mean, needless to say, they'll have to decide what process they want to utilize to get the next superintendent. But that will have to begin before too much longer. But let me tell you another thing. You want a superintendent coming in here that is doing a great job where he or she is right now. You don't want a superintendent that's in trouble somewhere. That's not what you want. You want somebody that is very good at what they do and is very happy where they are. But they see this, they see Batesville, Arkansas as a prime professional development opportunity for them. That's why they want to come. And there's good things happening here. They want to be a part of it. And they want to try to make it better. They want to work with the board to make it better. That's what you want in a superintendent. To get those candidates, let me tell you what else you got to do. You got to be together as a community. You got to be strong. You got to be supporting your schools. That's how you attract good people, whether they be teachers, administrators, superintendents, what have you. If you're good, people want to come. When I applied here for the superintendency in 1993, three of my board members were in here. There were 49 applications in that process. 49. I didn't think I'd have a snowball's chance of you know where. I was in Southern California. I had relatives here. I didn't think that was going to happen. Told different people, they're not going to hire anybody in California. I was born here and I moved away. I said, it's not going to happen. But it did happen. It happened because things came together and there was a unified effort to move forward. I moved to senior here. He didn't like that. And he even told me and my wife, he said, I'm not going back there. He was going to be a senior in high school. Good football team, good athletic, good program. One of the board members, she said, bring him with you. Put him on a plane. You'll have to pay for his ticket, but bring him back and let him see Batesville, Arkansas. Because he had been back here, because we have family in Charlotte, all over the place. So he'd been back here. So I brought him back here with me. They met him with 6 or 7 football players and about 4 cheerleaders. The game was over. I mean, that's honestly, I can't make this stuff up. This is true. But what does that say to you? The board understood what it was going to take to connect with a young man, and they did the time that was necessary to think about that. And the other funny part of that story is when I finished the interview process, I spent about a week here visiting schools and all that kind of good stuff. And he told me, he said, well, can I stay here with the family and learn the football program and get ready for the next school year? I said, well, son, there's one problem. They haven't offered me the job yet. And lo and behold, they did. And we didn't leave it, we went back and finished school, but I mean, that's how this whole thing happened. Thank God it did. Thank God it did. We were very happy to be here. We came back, we're happy to be here. We want to be a part of this. We want to work with you to make things happen for the betterment of the school district and this community. And together with each and every one of you, we can do that. I have no doubt about it. We can do it. You can help us do it. Other questions?
What's in place for, did the PLC take place of like the mentorship or new hires? How do you retain and support your staff? I know that's a financial thing, but that is very necessary to not lose good staff and also support them. And I know we're in a financial bind, but is the PLC the answer to that? Or what do you have in place, or how you're going to retain staff and welcome those new hires?
Well, PLC is, if you're using the terminology for PLC is a methodology that our staffs are going through in terms of looking at data, performance in the classroom and things of that nature. So the PLCs would not be involved or engaged in that a lot. I mean, they can be an integral part of it just in terms of seeing and that be an advertisement of what we're doing good in the school district. And that's a good program. It does take time away from the classroom. So that's the other thing. We're not going to do away with the PLCs, because I hear from a lot of staff that they really like that process, and it enables them to get involved in what's going on in the classroom, to look at their performance, look at their assessments, look at their instruction, and what we're doing along those lines. So the PLC is going to be an integral part of what we continue to do if it's approved. Now, it's a year-to-year cycle thing, and they will decide in June whether they're going to continue the next cycle, not just here, but whether they're going to continue that across the state. That's not our decision ultimately. We have told them we want to be a part of it again, but we're not in control of that decision, okay?
So what's there for the staff, like support as far as?
Staff support, what will be in place is making them feel wanted, number one, making them feel respected, and acknowledging what they do for the betterment of the school district, because that has to be the key essential component. Making them, just like I talked to you about, they got to feel honored about what they're doing. They got to be proud to be here. They got to be excited to be here. So that process across with each one of our principals, we'll try to instill and work in that regard that, we get to keep people in here. Let's make sure we keep them. Let's make sure we got a good process in place, that we're not running people off, that we're not doing things to make it a negative. And I don't think that we are. I'm not trying to imply that, but we got to be real aggressive in that regard, because it's a competition. I mean, our good people, everybody else wants them too. We want their good people. It's just like school choice, folks. It's a game. It's a competitive game. We've got to be better at our game than we've been, in my regards, my respectful thoughts. We've got to be better at that. We've got to be aggressive. We've got to make sure people understand what are the good things going on in the Batesville School District. Why do you want to be here? What is it about Batesville that excites you about being here? It's our total program. It's our athletics. It's our instruction. It's what you're going to get out of attending school here. That's what we're going to be about. We got to stress that with staff, and you guys have to help us do that too. You have to make people, especially those coming in from outside, feel better about being here. If this is a new place, you got to make them feel welcome. There are things that we can do as a community to help people. Make them become a part of this community. Not only do they come to work here, but they are also active members of the community, and they're helping in a variety of different ways. They're involved in the churches. They're involved in the community activities. You see them at events. When we have those kind of events in the community, we all need to come together to make them happen, and to make them better, and to make them more successful. What else? Yes?
Does that number of 55 reflect current school choice data, or
No.
do you have that?
No. That has nothing to do with the school choice number. That's a third quarter average from April to April. Yeah, we have the school choice numbers. They're in there. May 1st was the deadline on people filing it. I'll tell you that we got our numbers, and then what I wanted to do when I saw that first set of numbers, I wanted to look at 3 years of data. What does the prior 3 years show me? They're about the same. Okay? I will tell you that we had 89 kids choicing in. We had 103 choicing out. Okay? This year. But as you look back 3 years prior, they're pretty close to the same kind of situation. We've had over 100. Let me say this to you. Just because a kid fills out a choice form, doesn't mean he or she is leaving. Doesn't mean that they're automatically gone. They have to fill out a form on that deadline date if they're going to do it. It also, if you don't know, any kid that choices in or out has to do that same form every year. So it's not a net loss. Okay? So of the 103 this year, for example, that we've got that are going out, the net is 71. But some of those kids were gone already. And some of the kids coming in were already here, so that's not a net gain. So of the 89, we've had some that were already here. We've got 68 or 69 of that 89 that are new. So it's a balance. But we got to get beyond, we don't want to lose anybody. I mean, you lose one child, it costs you $7,700 and change. That number goes up every year. Every year it goes up. So that's what you're looking at. And that's the business part of this conversation that you cannot continue to sustain. No school district can sit and lose 50 plus kids a year. Doesn't work. You got real serious financial issues if you're in that predicament. The finances can be fixed, but they can't be fixed easily when you're losing 55 to 60 kids a year. That just adds another layer to the deep conversation. And that's why
James, in the late 70s, there were two industries that moved into Batesville, Eastman and LaCroix. I think if you ask your volunteers working for your, Batesville was a destination for workforce, but also education. The two colleges, there were big reasons that people wanted to come to Batesville. From that, we got a pot of people that continued into the 80s and into the 90s of building the school district. When you got here in the 90s, there was already that community spirit to make the school district. And dropping your kids off in the morning and picking them up in the afternoon is not supporting the school district. It's being active. It's supporting the board. It's supporting your teachers. And you need to talk to teachers. Because a lot of these teachers I know that I've talked to, one of the reasons they have doubt is because they don't get the support of the parents.
Yeah.
Now, when my kids were in school in the 90s, we got that support. We made sure that the kids were in school and they supported those teachers. I think we've lost some of that here in Batesville, in County. Why? I don't know. But I know we had some school championships in athletics in the 90s. We carried over to the after the turn of the century. So the nucleus is here, and the parents are here, but you got to support them. That's the one thing I've seen. I've got a daughter that graduates from U of A on Friday. She told me, and I've got Scarlett, who's a sophomore. They told me both when they got to Fayetteville in the fall, their freshman year, they felt behind. They had kids from Valley View that they thought were ahead of them. And they said, we've been trying to catch up ever since. So it's not just about the school board and the superintendent. It's about the community. You want a good school district, support it. You want the kids just to kind of float around and not go to school. I mean, that's what we got right now. I've heard more people talk about kids are never in school anymore. They're out for this, they're out for that. They're going on field trips, they're going on this. Get them in the class and teach them something. Because that's what they're doing in Valley View. That's what they're doing in Greenwood. That's what they're doing in PA. And we need to treat these folks. We have the board. Yep. It's not rocket science. We can do it. I've got I've got a 22-year-old, I've got a 6-year-old. I'll be going to PTA meetings, I'm 112. Which is fine. But these people Dr. James, Mr. Campbell, all these, Mr. Bledsoe, Robinson, all these folks, they can't do it by themselves. What he is telling you is, you've got to jump in there and help. And I mean, I've been so worried about this district the last few years. And having Dr. James come back because he loves the district. That's why he is here. He loves his faithful school. And I've already talked to him about staying 2 more years. But I talked to Sandy while I had this. But I am so frustrated by the fact that we have so many people in this community that don't get involved with the community. You gotta get involved in the community. Gary McDonald is a great example of being a community. You guys, I think, were one of the catalysts to make this school district really, really good.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I mean, there was a cadre of people here, right, with Ron Spillers at Eastman. And I mean, they brought, at that time, it was Texas Scholars. We put that in my first year here. I mean, it's Arkansas Scholars now. Some of you may have had your kids participate in that. It's a great program, but that came from Texas. That's where it started. Ron Spillers brought that in. And so we started that here. But all of those kinds of things, there was an active conversation going on across the community about education. And it was people that knew why did these people do that as business leaders? Because they were getting the products, right? That's why they had to do it. They knew the importance of a good school system. And that's what we got to have. And that's what we can have. All of us working together to make that happen. But yeah, there was a cadre of people that were instrumental in making those kind of things happen. And there were high expectations. And they'd come and sit down and talk with me as superintendent. And they didn't want to hear any fluff. They wanted to hear about what are you going to do? This is what we need as employers. So what are you guys going to do to facilitate and make sure that happens? That's what we got to be about again. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Is the district considering moving the start time of school back to 8 a.m.?
They're looking at different calendars, and I've not seen them all yet, but they're developing 3 calendars for us to look at.
That could be a possibility.
There could be a possibility. There could be even an option of looking at staggered times.
Oh, that would be nice.
You know, because none of you have traffic jams in Batesville, right? Or around the schools about dropping people off. I mean, we need to look at something. We need to look at the options. What can we make work? Because we got to facilitate it all around the transportation cycle, number one. But bottom line is we got to look at options as we go down this path. And I'm confident we'll come up with some good options. Yes?
When you're talking about the curriculum and teachers, are y'all reviewing the current staff to see if maybe their teaching ability is not up to par, or I have 2 kids in the district and we've had some duds, but we've also had some amazing teachers too. When you're talking about furthering and getting a higher education working on the curriculum, are you also looking at the teachers as well?
Yeah, we will. We haven't yet. I'll be candid with you. I haven't looked at teacher performance at this point in time because just haven't had the time to do that. But that has to be a part of everything that we look at. What's going on in the classroom? That's why I say and what I've talked about with the Chromebooks and different things like that. What is going on in the classroom? Are we just doing too many of the Chromebook things from the beginning of the bell to the end of the bell? If we're doing some of that, then that's not what we need to be doing. And we're going to make those changes because you can't do that. We're going to have to look at what we're doing in the classrooms and how we evaluate and how we make sure that we're doing education. That's what it is we're going to do. We're going to look at the whole curriculum. We're going to look at everything that we can with respect to that. So I tell you, we're going to turn it over. We're going to turn it over. Okay? We're going to look at it all. See what's going on good, what's not going on good. How do we fix it? How do we make it better? But you got to roll up your sleeves and you got to have people. When I talk to different staffs already, one of the other encouraging pieces is that we've got people that are eager to do cross-grade articulation. Having one second grade teacher at one campus talking to the other teachers not only in their building, but at the other campuses. Getting them together, we did a lot of that when I was here in 93 to 99. Did a lot of standards-based work. And that's what we're gonna talk more about doing. The 3 elementary schools already have 2 days set up to do that, coming up at the end of May. They're gonna sit down and they're gonna have those beginnings of those articulation meetings. We've gotta know what everybody's doing across the building. We gotta have those expectations that when a kid leaves X grade, then the 4th grade teacher, for example, is gonna sit down with the 3rd grade teacher and have those expectations lined out. I think some of that stuff is in place, but we're not doing it. We're not talking about it. I'm not telling you they don't ever talk to each other. We gotta do more of it though. That's how you get better at it. And it's hard work, but it's the right work.
Ken, one of the things you mentioned at the prior meeting was another obstacle on the money hill was the bus facility. Could you describe a little bit about coming up with a new, or not coming up with a new bus facility?
It's still an obstacle. There's not going to be a new transportation system. We don't have the resources to do that. Okay? We're talking about $2 or $3 million at a minimum. We've had good conversations with Mr. McCoy and Kurt and talking about what we're doing out there in that facility. We know we've moved the buses to the junior high. We've got tanks that are coming in that have been purchased before I got here that have to be placed. But we don't have the resources. When I tell you we're a couple million short on this construction, and it may be more, we don't know yet. We don't have another $2 or $3 million that we can pluck off a tree and build a transportation center. All those things are great ideas, but we got to have funds to do it, and we don't have those. So we're not marching down that path. There's no mechanism to do that right now. Okay.
Let me follow up on that. So what's this exactly is the status? So we're not going to build a new bus barn?
We don't have the resources right now to build.
What's going to happen with the bus barn that we have now?
Out at the LaCroix property?
Yes.
Well, what we're gonna do, the buses are gonna, we're gonna put the tanks up at the junior high. That's the process right now. We're still in the LaCroix building. We have a lease out there until 2026, okay? But it's as simple as not having the money. And we haven't hit the lottery. All the tickets I've been buying, we haven't hit the lottery. So we don't have the resources to do that, folks. And so it's not even a conversation at this point in time because there's not the money there to do it. And until we stop the bleed, you can't have those kind of conversations, Other questions?
I have one.
Yes, sir.
I've heard a lot talk about we don't have the resources. Why are we losing our students?
Well, there's a combination of answers to that, but it's why it's not, you don't need to leave here with the impression that Batesville School District is the only school district losing students, because it's happening all over the county, it's happening all over the state, okay? People are exercising choice, and that's their right to do that. And so when you have that open market, and let me tell you another thing, whether you like it or not, we are now in a voucher program across the state of Arkansas. This is the 2nd year of the voucher program, which has been opened up to more students. After this next year, and we get into 3rd year, it's opened up to every kid in the state of Arkansas. So every kid and every parent can go and get a voucher and do with it what they want to do with it. So I will predict to you here today that K-12 education across the state is going to change drastically when that happens, because there are going to be people that exercise that option. There's not a simplistic answer to your question. It's a combination of factors. Some people are disgruntled. Some people are unhappy because of the experience they've had. Some people don't feel that their kids have been treated right, but that's That's not just Batesville's scenario, that's everybody. We got kids going to Southside, we got Southside kids coming here. I mean, it's a combination of things. So what I'm scared of is when the whole thing kicks in, what's going to happen to K-12 education across the state. I just don't know the answer to that. I don't think anybody can tell you what the answer is going to be until it happens. We have a lot of people now in this community talking about micropods. Have you heard that? What that is, if you haven't heard it, is parents get together that talk about forming a school, a little school of their own. Maybe there's 5 kids, maybe there's 8 kids. And you get 2 or 3 sets of parents. We form a school, we go hire a retired teacher. We have a little micropod school. Parents have the right to choose what they want to do. I don't disgruntle anybody for making an informed choice. I think it needs to be that. But that's where we find ourselves in this business right now. So we have got to make sure that we've got a high quality program so that we can keep the kids and not have just wholesale people leaving. But bottom line is education is going to change drastically when all that happens, I'm afraid. And so that's going to have an impact on every school district across the state. Okay? Yes, sir.
Dr. James, the tag on what he was saying, on those pods that you're talking about in the voucher, I think there's been a lot of questions about how those vouchers are used with the kids that are coming and using the district that they live in, their extracurricular activities and everything. Is it right that wherever their pod is getting half and we are getting half because they're coming from one class?
We don't get half, no.
Okay.
The question was about these kids are in pods and all this other kind of stuff, and they're playing athletics at the campus. Do we get half the money? No. You get how many periods they are in your class, in your school. They come on a period basis. They may come and take 1 period, they may come take 2. It's a period by period basis. And a 6-period day is your full day. So if a kid's there for 1 period, you get 1/6 of that $7,000. If they're there 3, you get 3 cents. That's how that works right now. Now, all that could change, but that's how it works right now. I mean, there's so many rumors about what people think is going to happen that they're just that. There's rumors that are out there across the state that in 2 years, you'll have a kid coming to Batesville to play football and a kid going to Greenwood or wherever to play basketball and another kid going over here to play baseball. There's that far-fetched of the rumors that are out there right now, okay? I don't know whether any of think's going to happen or not, but, you know, there are those rumors. So the lands, I mean, I keep waiting for NIL money to come in.
It's already happening.
We're not getting any of it yet, but I mean, I'm just saying, there are all kinds of things going on out there, folks, and the landscape is going to change. That we can be assured of. What the end product's going to be, who knows at this point in time, okay? Other questions? Yes.
Today, when I drive by a school, I see a sign that says students first.
Yes.
And I think for most of us, that's just a reminder of the dark period of the past 7 years. Do you think that we'll change that? Do you think we'll just actually go back to what we are, which are pioneers? Pioneers never quit.
Well, that was something, and I don't know how it evolved. Okay, so I'm just going to, I don't have any trouble with what that says, but the translation's got to be.
The translation was never there.
Well, and I don't, but what I'm saying in my mind, what I'm telling you, if we're saying students are first, then that's what it needs to be.
Right.
I don't have any problem with students being first because they should be first. You heard me say before, that's why we are here.
Yeah, it's a moniker of the faith.
Well, it's a moniker that it's like any moniker. You can put anything up on a billboard and say it till you're blue in the face. What I've said to you tonight, folks, you will judge me and should judge me in the school district, not by what I said, what the translation and the action is from what I said. That's the proof in the pudding. You can say anything you want to say, but if it's a meaningless moniker, it doesn't mean anything. I don't have any problem with students first, as long as that's what we are doing and that's what we are about. That's got to be internalized, that's got to be believed, that's got to be everything that we're doing each and every day of the week. Okay? Other questions? It's 7 o'clock. I can talk all day long. I'm not trying to rush you off. If you got more questions, I want to answer your questions. This is important. Tonight is important and the beginning of where we go, folks. This is a first of what I hope we can do on a regular basis. We're not going to do this every week, but we got to have more of these meetings. This is how we all get better. This is how you get the community involved with what you're doing. You open the door and say, we want you to come because you can help us. We can't do this by ourselves. And I'm not naive enough to think that we can. We're going to need each and every one of you and all your cousins and aunts and uncles. Everybody has to do this with us. You've got a great other slogan that a pioneer never quits. That's true. It's got to be embedded across everything that each and every one of us does. Without a doubt. And that's how we all get better. That's how we do it together. So I want to ask you to join us. I want to ask you to be a part of this. Because if you're not, we're not going to be what we can be. We're not going to be what you want us to be. At the end of the day, this is what you want as a community. You heard that echoed in their other comments. This is about what Batesville wants as a community. What are our expectations? Do we want the best school district in Independence County? Absolutely. It takes hard work. It takes motivation. It takes dedication. It takes rolling up the sleeves and getting the job done and no excuses. I don't want to hear about how we can't do anything. Because we can do it if we want to do it bad enough. We can do it. The finances can be fixed if we stop the bleeding of the seams. I will tell you emphatically that if we don't do that, it's going to be a hard road to go. But you cannot lose $400,000 plus a year and say everything's okay. It's just not okay. That's a losing proposition. And not one that any district, whether it's Batesville, Southside, it doesn't matter. You're losing kids, you're losing money. Losing money, you can't do the things you need to do. To attract the quality, to maintain the quality once you got it. All of it fits together. All of it fits together. What else? Come on. Don't be shy. This is the night and the opportunity to get it out, folks. Lay it on me. I mean, I don't mind answering whatever you want to ask me. I'll answer it truthfully, honestly, when I can.
What is the trend line on students leaving? Is it this way or is it this way?
Like I say, the last 3 years, pattern has been about the same. I mean, it's not a fluctuation of a lot. And I had those numbers and I think I dropped them in the car. But I mean, we've lost for the last 3 years. Lost. We've had people fill out choice forms for the last 3 years of over 100 kids. We're the same place. And we've had about the same coming in.
I know my friend's class, the 6th grade, what do they have, 240 something? I mean, it's 275. It's crazy how big that class is. are we seeing the classes as they come up get bigger? So I mean, you have students who leave by choice, but you also have students who leave by graduating and students who come in at kindergarten.
The trend lines for the whole county are not real positive. I mean, we're in a downward slope. So we've got to make sure that we're keeping our kids and that we're attracting more kids and hope more people move in. But industry, when the industry comes to a town, what do they want? Great community, they want good schools. And if you don't have those, you don't have good schools, and you've got bad grades, you've got this, that, and the other thing going on, they're gonna go on down the road. They don't spend a lot of time with it. They know what their factors have to be to make it work. So you've got to have the things to attract industry. When you attract industry, what do you have? You have more property tax coming in, which helps the schools and helps everything else. I mean, it costs money to live in Batesville, Arkansas. You guys know that. The tax rate is not low here. I increased my taxes when I moved back. But, you know, there's a price to pay here. But we've got to make sure we've got high quality. I don't mind paying for something if it's good stuff. I don't want to pay taxes on stuff that's not good. Nor do you. The only difference in our checkbook and your checkbook is we got a few more zeros at the end. It's like you cannot spend more than you take in, just like you do at home. If you do, pretty soon you're in trouble. Then you can't be about going into credit. You don't use one credit card, when you max it out, you don't go get another one and max it out. It's the same principle, folks. You've got to have revenue coming in, and you've got to be good stewards of the taxpayers' resources. If you are, they will support you. If you're not, they won't. They see waste, they see things that they don't understand, that haven't been explained. It's a negative. So you got to spend time. We have to spend time talking to people and explaining things that we're doing. If you got questions, let us know. We'll answer your questions. Okay? What else?
Dr. James, let me take this moment to tell people who are listening online, if you have a question, there is a link in the chat. And just please go to that Google form and your question will be received.
One comment. 2 years in a row, state quiz bowl champs.
Three.
Three?
Oh, three. Yep, top all-star. I watched that match on PBS. I don't know, maybe some of you did. We smoked them. I mean, it wasn't close. It was not close. That lightning round, it was lightning. It was going crazy. Yes.
So your predecessor was saying that we have money, we're gonna start this project. With you saying the student evacuation rate's kind of been about the same, where'd the money go? Is it with inflation? Or is this poorly mismanaged a fund?
We have spent a lot of money in a lot of areas.
Couldn't hear you, Ken.
I didn't mean for you.
I know. My point.
The question was, where's the money gone? Our response is, we spent a lot of money in a lot of areas that we gotta get better. Okay? And, we're gonna do that. I mean, the money sounds simplistic. The money is the easiest thing to fix if you're not losing kids. If you're losing kids, it becomes more problem than that. Academics, much more difficult conversation. Finances can be fixed, but you got to have the wherewithal to be able to fix it. It's like you can't keep plugging the dike. But you can't keep saying you got all these resources and all these resources. If you're saying that, they gotta be there. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay? Yes?
I'm going to ask this question as a parent, not as a teacher from the district. I also have a child in the sixth grade.
Sixth grade?
Yes, 275-ish students in that class. And going for next year, they have 8 girls that are going to play basketball. That's kind of shocking to me with 275 students, but this isn't really an athletic question. I'm kind of embarrassed to have my kid at a D school. And nothing against any of our teachers, but what are we going to do to change that with the curriculum or the teachers, or what is the main focus to make that school, all of our schools, better?
Well, the main focus is we all gotta be better. We gotta get better each and every day. That's a simplistic answer to you, but the bottom line is we've got 8 kids coming out for a basketball team. 275 kids out of the class, that's probably not very good ratio. I don't know the answers to that yet. I've not looked into that in great detail yet, but we got to look at our numbers. And if we're going to offer sports, we're going to offer things that cost money. We got to make sure that we got people participating in it. We got issues around that, and there's some reasons why we only have 8 out. And we'll get to the bottom. We'll be able to answer that question for you later. I can't answer it for you tonight. That's not been brought up to me. I've had a few things brought up to me about sports and things of that nature. That's not one I've heard yet. Go ahead.
I guess I care more about the academic standpoint of that, but I do think that number is alarming. So I was just wondering, I feel like I know you haven't got to that because there's so many more issues going on, but is that something that we can expect some type of change for next year?
You can expect that we're going to look at all of our programs. And when I say that, I mean everything. We're going to look at what we're doing everywhere. Because you can't just look at things in isolation. That doesn't work. We can't just cherry pick things to look at. If we've got an issue, what I'm saying to you is we're going to address it. We're going to talk about it. I can't tell you what the answer is going to be, but we're going to talk about it. If we got so many kids just trying out and we're losing numbers, why are we losing numbers? That's a logical question. And there may be a logical answer. But until we have that conversation, I can't answer for you. But yeah, we're going to talk about this. I don't mind talking about anything, as you can tell. But I believe in what I say to you because this is what I've done throughout my life, folks. I care about this business. I am passionate about education. I have been very blessed in my career. I care about this immensely. That's why, again, we're going to get after this stuff and get after it as aggressively as we can. Yes?
LEARNS Act and the changes to teacher salary. How does that pay for? Is that something that the state, the federal government couple us with, or is that something that we as a district have to come up with? In the long run, I know maybe in the short run.
Well, I can tell you what we used to say at the State Department. I'm in the State Department. I'm here to help you. Let me put it this way to you. Anything and everything that comes out of the state for a long time is they're always going to fund it and totally. It never happens. What it costs to run the programs, what it costs to pay the salaries, it's never all there. There's some elements of it there. There's never the full funding though, okay? Same thing with the feds. Now, let me say this too. School districts around this state and around this country have been blessed for the last few years. But the gravy train is over. We've had enormous amounts of money coming in. And that's why there has been a lot of money to do a lot of different things. But that money is drying up and dries up at the end of this year. So all of those resources that were coming into schools are no longer going to be there to the magnitude that they were. So to answer your question, it all comes across in the legislation that this is being state funded. Rarely does that happen. okay? There's always pieces that you have to pick up. It's like when you're a school district and you have declining enrollment, you get declining enrollment funding from the state, but it's never apples to apples. They don't give you $7,000 for every kid that you lose. They give you a proportion. So it's never equal, okay? Yes?
With everything you said tonight, do you have a vision for a time frame where we can get back to ground zero and start being progressive instead of just trying to get out of a hole?
Well, the quickest way to answer that question is we got to stop the bleed. We got to stop kids leaving, okay? We got to stop. I can't come to you next spring and tell you that, I can't come to you next May and say we're 60 kids down again. That's the quickest answer I can give you to answer your question. We can dig out of this very quick if we can fix that. The finances can be fixed, but it can't be fixed as quickly if you're losing 50 or 60 kids. We got to stop the drain. You guys have to help us stop the drain. Go ahead.
Would it be reasonable to assess the kids that are leaving and see if there's a reason they're leaving?
Yeah, you talk about exits and stuff like that. You're not going to exit interviews and stuff. You can have those. You're not going to hit every kid because some of them skip out. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with trying to do that and get that feedback on why they're leaving. A lot of it has to do sometimes with, the grass is always greener, right? Well, the grass is not always greener. Most people find out most of them find out the grass is not greener. Okay? But again, now that we have these options available to parents and kids, when people get upset, they're quicker to exercise those options now than they were in the past. I would say to you, when I was here 93 to 99, people were less willing to exercise options like that. They were more willing to come and sit down and talk about problems that they're having, and let's get to the bottom of them, and let's try to fix them. Now you may not have those levels of conversations. In contrast, you'll have everybody just say, I'm out of here. It's easier to do it that way. You don't have to confront anybody. You don't have to listen to anything. I'm voting with my feet, I'm gone. I mean, it's the nature of the world in which we live, okay? And I can't fix that. None of you can fix that. But we got to have quality programs to make people want to be here. Not to say we don't, but they got to be the best. Batesville should be the best in Independence County. And I'll say to you in all candor, because I believe this, as strong as it sounds, a kid in Independence County is going to have the best educational opportunities if they attend the Batesville School District. Doesn't mean we don't have any issues or problems that we need to fix, but I firmly believe that that's still the case. Now, my fellow superintendents would argue that, as they should. If you're a superintendent, you should feel you've got the best system in the operation. If you don't, then you got a problem. To me, that has to be driving the train. We are the best.
In 2019 and 2020, when we were going for our marriage, we were out of room. We had so many kids come in that we were out of room. We tried to, most of our schools have additional classrooms that were part of that plan. So that's no longer the case. If we can get 100 students to come, we have room for them.
Depends on where they come.
Okay.
We got some places that are pretty tight. I'll tell you what my thought is. And I'm not advocating for this. I'm just saying, when you look at the size of our community and you look at the number of students we have 3,099 students. Okay? We've been up high as 3,150 at times. Do we need 3 elementary schools? I think that's open for question. If in the best case scenario, if we were designing what the school district looked like and we had the abilities to do that and the wherewithal to do that, this is a district of a size that would probably have one large elementary school, a junior high school, and a high school. And that's as candid as I can be with you. Because when you have multiple campuses, you have multiple expenses. Okay? When I came, and I'm not saying that to put people out of jobs. I'm just saying that from a practical operational standpoint. When I came here in 1993, we had a school that was standing that we couldn't put kids in because we didn't have the money to operate it. You can't do that. If you're gonna build a school, you gotta also have money to operate it. Say the same thing to you about the $47 million facility that we got up there. We gotta have money to operate that once we open it. Because what goes up when you open a new building? Insurance, electricity, you name it. It all goes up. So you have the money to do that. So that's my philosophy on that piece. Okay. Other questions?
Did we
Yes.
just sell the LaFroy or the bus barn just to lease it back from the same people we sold it to? To rent it?
Yes. Yep.
Sounds like we shot ourselves in the foot.
Well, I wasn't in on the conversation, so I don't know, but I mean, all I'm telling you is, yeah, that's what it was. I will say this to you, that Mr. LaCroix and his family have been wonderful. They are supporters of the Batesville School District. They want nothing but the best for the Batesville School District. I don't know how it evolved to that, and I know you're going to talk about it. But I mean, that's just what we've done. Okay. Other questions? Did I really just tick you all off and make you upset and depress you? That was not my intent. If I did, yes.
Will you give us another update? Will there be another community meeting around the first of the year to tell us how the summer and everything's gone and if we're moving in a positive direction?
If I survive, yeah. The question was, are we going to have any more meetings? Yeah, we will, because this is important. This is how we get things back together. By engaging the community and getting them involved in it. I hope you found it informative. I hope you can see that we're going to be about telling you the truth. And we're going to be about the Batesville School District being the best that it can be. That's the bottom line. Me, everybody, anything else. I want us to have a great school system. I want us to have great employees. I want us to have a lot of fun doing what we're doing. If everybody's having a lot of fun doing what you're doing, it's a lot more fun getting up. You gotta enjoy this stuff. I enjoy it. That's why I'm here talking to you tonight. This is what we gotta do. We gotta talk. We have to communicate. It's not a one-way street. And it's not me telling you everything is rosy if it's not rosy. I'm gonna tell you when things are bad. I'm gonna tell you when we got issues. That's how we get better. That's how we try to solve them together. You gotta know what the problem is if you can try to help fix it. If you just think everything's okay and everybody's telling you everything's okay, what's your incentive to get involved? We need your involvement. We need your engagement. We need you to be a part of the school system. We need you in the rallying cry. We need you to sing the songs. We need you up at the football field. We need you everywhere we can get you. We need you to be engaged. Come together as a community. That's what we have to do. Not operate in isolation pockets. That doesn't work. What else? Yes?
I just have a comment.
Okay.
Thank you for coming out of retirement for us.
If I didn't care, I wouldn't be here. And that's what I want you to take out of here. If I didn't care, I wouldn't be here. I want you to care. I know you do. You care because you're here. You wanted to learn more about what was going on, and you wanted to hear what was good, what problems we have, and that's what we tried to show you. That's what we'll continue to do. Okay? That's how we all get better. So let's make that commitment, each and every one of us, as we leave here tonight. We leave here as pioneers. We leave here committed. We leave here being a part of the solution and not part of the problem or the issue. And if we do that, folks, it'll light it up. It'll light it up. I know you want to light it up. I want to light it up. That's what we have to do. You got people here that can do that. Staff. Got a good staff here. People care. Let's come together and make it happen. That's what we have to be about. And we'll come back to you. We'll meet periodically because it's important for us to do that. That's how we all get better. Okay? Anybody else? Are we good?
We're good.
Are we ready?
Ready.